Today is your real estate market update for active adult, and today we're focusing on the Brier Creek area in the Triangle. I work with a lot of folks who move here from other areas, and they say, Liz, what is the Brier Creek area? So we're going to do an overview of the Brier Creek area. We'll talk about the 55 plus communities that are located in the Brier Creek area, and we'll take a look at availability and price point. So I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get right into it, starting with a map. So this map is of all the age targeted and 55 plus communities across the Triangle. So all these little pink houses represent either a 55 plus community or age targeted community. What are age targeted communities? Well, these are communities that don't necessarily have an age restriction, but they were built as main level living and they have features that are good for aging in place. So they might have a zero entry shower and wider doorways, no stairs, things like that. And, obviously main level living. These communities don't necessarily have the age restriction. Anybody can live there, but a lot of times because they have those features, they attract the active adult. And then there are also your 55 plus communities, which are more the traditional 55 plus community. You have the age restriction. And for the most part, it depends on the community, but for the most part, if it's an age restricted community, one resident has to be 55 or older, and nobody under the age of typically 18 or 19 can live there full time. Full time is typically considered 90 consecutive days. So this really shows you where all the 55 plus and age targeted communities are in the Triangle, and then where it is in relation to shopping, to hospitals, things like that. If you're interested in looking at this map, it is available on LizTothCommunityGuide.com, and you can check that out. But for the purposes of today's presentation, we're really going to focus on the Brier Creek area. And so I'm going to zoom in on this area, and you can see it starts like right here with the Brier Creek Country Club. So that's really what the area was developed around. And so it's known as the Brier Creek area, and the area runs along the border of Raleigh and Durham. So as you're driving along the road in this area, you might be in Durham and Durham County, or you might be in Raleigh and Wake County. Some of the benefits to living in this area: you're close to the airport. You're close to Research Triangle Park. You have easy access to get into Raleigh, depending on where you want to be, downtown Raleigh, North Raleigh. You have easy access up to Durham. So if you want to go to the Durham Performing Arts Center, for example, you have easy access to that as well. You have access to two state parks. So you have Falls Lake, which is up here, and then you also have Umstead State Park, which is down here. There's lots of shopping and things like that in the Brier Creek area, so you really don't have to go outside of the area. Everything you would need on a daily basis is really in that area. You're convenient to major roads, which is also a benefit. Those are some of the reasons why this area is so popular. It's also very diverse with regard to housing. So you're going to have apartments, condos, townhouses, single family homes, like huge single family homes. And then you also have 55 plus communities and a couple of age targeted communities in the area. For the purposes of today's presentation, we're just going to focus on the 55 plus communities and what their availability is and pricing and things like that. So I'm going to zoom in on this area. Down here, you have Creekside at Bethpage by Taylor Morrison. This community is about 660 homes. It is a resale community. It's all built out. But this is considered to be in the Brier Creek area. And then as you get to the other side, so you'd go down Brier Creek Parkway, cross 70. So once you cross 70, there's other 55 plus communities available. And those include Carolina Arbors by Del Webb. This is a very popular community. It is all built out, just resale homes available. Across the street from Carolina Arbors, you have Fendel Farms. Fendel Farms is probably the newest resale community in the area. They finished up around 2023, right around that time frame. That's Arbors is 1,300 homes, which is one of the biggest, and then Fendel is about 500 homes. Then we also have further up the street, you have Ovation, which is a brand new 55 plus community. This is going to be a part of the Sweet Brier community. So Sweet Brier is a big community. It has different types of housing. Ovation at Sweet Brier is going to be the section that's 55 plus. That is new construction in the area. And then we also have Falls Village, which is up here on 98, being built by Stanley Martin. That is also a 55 plus community. And they have a lot of different sizes of homes available for sale. Whereas right now at Ovation, they're selling townhouses, but there's single family homes coming soon. The other communities in this area, this is the Courtyards at Andrews Chapel. That is an age-targeted community, not age-restricted. And then this one over here, this is also new construction, another Courtyards community, age-targeted as opposed to age-restricted. So for the purposes of this, we're going to focus on Falls Village and Ovation, and then we're going to focus on the 3 resale communities that are all 55 plus. So that just gives you an orientation of the area. As we zoom in here, you can see there's a grocery store, and this whole area here has tons of shopping. It has a movie theater, restaurants, all kinds of, nail salons, hair salons, dentists. So there's a lot of stuff all in this particular area. That's why I say you really don't have to go outside of this area. If you live in the Brier Creek area, you don't have to go outside of this area, for groceries or things like that. You have easy access to grocery stores, Target. There's a BJ's Wholesale Club, so similar to Costco, that type of thing. So if you really don't like to drive far, this is a great location, and you have everything really convenient to pretty much all the communities in the area. And so for people always ask me how far away things are. So this community up here, Falls Village. So I will show this community, and I usually meet at a Panera Bread, which is down here. It takes about 12 minutes to get up here from the Panera Bread. So down here close to 70 and Brier Creek Parkway, up to here is about 12 minutes. So just if you're trying to figure out distance, that's approximately how far it is from this big shopping area. But you also have shopping over here going into Durham, and then you also have easy access to get over to Wake Forest from Falls Village as well. So what's going on in the real estate market in this area? Well, we have, we'll start with the resale community. So you have Creekside at Bethpage, Fendel Farms, and Carolina Arbors. So you can see there's not a lot on the market right now available for sale. There's 15 homes total in all 3 communities, 4 in Fendel, 4 in Creekside, and the rest are in Carolina Arbors. You can see they vary in size. So you have your small homes under 1,300 square feet, and then you have some around 2,600 square feet. And then prices really vary across the board. It depends on size. The smaller the home, the less money it's going to be. The bigger the home, the higher the price. So, the 1,300 square foot home is listed for $415, and then as you get up here, this one on Hooper Place is almost 2,700 square feet. It's all one level, listed for $775. So the price range really varies across the board depending on the size of the home. It's also going to depend if there's a second floor or if it's all one level. So if you have a 2,700 square foot ranch, that's a pretty big building footprint. So those are typically going to be more expensive. And sometimes they're typically more in demand than some of the really small ones. It just kind of depends. So this is what's available. So that overall, when we look at what's going on in this community, when we look at what's available for sale, about 15 homes, they've averaged about 49 days on the market. So these are all still available for sale. The average square footage is about 1,880, so just under 1,900 square feet. And I typically find that the sweet spot in 55 plus communities is really anywhere from 1,800 to about 2,200 square feet on one level. And the average sales price is about $535,000. Now, if we look at what's happened in the real estate market in recent months in these communities, we have seen the area, we have seen a real estate shift. So things have slowed down a little bit. So I'm starting to look at more narrow windows when I look at closed sales and what's under contract. So when we look at these 3 communities, we'll just look at the last 30 days. 28 homes are either under contract or have sold. So there's been a lot of recent real estate activity. And when we look at everything that has sold, the average living area square footage, 2,200 square feet. So again, it falls into that, that sweet spot of about 1,800 to 2,200 square feet. These homes have averaged about 35 days on the market. You can see some sold faster than that. Average days on market 4 for this particular one on Shellbank. Average days on market 5 for this one on Sounding Lane. The overall average list price, $601,000, and then the average sold price, $589,000. So sellers are coming off that list price. And that's what we're seeing across the triangle. This is not just 55 plus, but we're seeing price reductions across the triangle. We're seeing less buyer demand, more sellers on the market. So there's more options for buyers today. So we're seeing that more sellers come off that list price. And you can see sellers in the area have they've come off their list price about 2% on average. When we look at what's under contract, you can see there's 17 homes currently under contract that'll close sometime in the near future. The average square footage, about 1,950 square feet, 19 days on the market, and the average list price about $568,000. Again, when you look at the list here, it depends on the size. This one is 1,447 square feet. It was listed for $419 and it's under contract. This one's $1,386, listed for $439, and so on and so forth. And when you get into some of these larger ones, this one that was 2,445 square feet, listed for $669, it's under contract in 3 days. So one of the things I would say is if you are looking at a resale community in the Brier Creek area, it is high demand. So you really want to try to narrow down the size of the home you want and be ready to go, because as you can see, some of these homes sell pretty quickly. This one came on the market and sold immediately. This one sold in 3 days. A couple more sold in 3 days, 6 days, 3 days, 13 days, 23 days. So for the most part, homes, if they're priced right, they look good, they're selling pretty quickly in these resale 55 plus communities. Shifting over to the new construction community. So again, there's 2 new construction communities in the Brier Creek area. Ovation is very new, and right now they're only doing townhouses, but they do have single family homes planned. And then you have Falls Village up on 98, which is all single family homes. And their homes vary in size. So they have smaller homes in the 1,400, 1,500 square foot range. They have one with a 1-car garage, and then they go up in size from there. Most of them have a 2-car garage, but they're going to vary obviously in size and in price. So when we look at what's available, and this might not be everything that's available, and that's one of the things I always say on my market updates is if you are looking at new construction, there may be more inventory homes available that just aren't listed in the MLS. So what are inventory homes or quick move-in homes? These are homes where the builder has picked everything. They've submitted the permit, they've picked all the design options, it's available for sale. It may be somewhere in the construction process. So it could be in framing, drywall, it might be all done. It's available for sale. And buyers can make no changes. And so that's really how Falls Village is operating. They're picking everything, they're submitting the permit, they're starting construction, and then once they get to a certain point in construction, they will open it up and make it available for sale. Sometimes it's showing here in the MLS, and sometimes it's not. So I'm typically keeping in touch with these communities to try to always be up to date as to what's available for sale. So for now, we'll just focus on Falls Village. And look at what they have going on. 14 homes available for sale. They're somewhere in the construction process. And then obviously they range in price. So the smaller the home, 1,684 square feet. This one is listed for $439. And then when you get into some of the larger homes, 2,500, 2,600 square feet, you're looking at over 600 or low 600s for these homes in particular. When we look at what's under contract and what has closed in this community, you'll see it's very kind of diverse what they've had going on. And again, they don't list everything in the MLS, so I don't always get like the best picture of what's going on. I mean, I know they've sold more than 14, but they just don't all end up in the MLS. You can see they only have 2 that have closed, but they do have more that have closed in that neighborhood. They just don't necessarily get listed in the MLS. That's why if you're a buyer and you're interested in new construction, it is always important to be working with an agent so that you can stay in the know as to what's available and what's coming available. So the 2 closed sales that they've had, the homes are over 2,300 square feet. So the average square footage larger than what we saw in the resale homes. So 2,400 square feet, the average list price $575 and the average sold price $575. And what's under contract, the average square footage around 2,300 square feet and the list price around $541. They're not showing a days on market because they eliminated days on market for new construction homes. And that's because when the builders put them on the market, a lot of times they don't sell until you start to see the walls come up and people can get a sense of the layout. So if there isn't a model of this particular floor plan, it's going to be hard for someone to visualize if they haven't even done the drywall yet. So a lot of times these homes don't sell until they're further along in the process, and buyers can actually visualize, like, this is what the space is going to look like. So that's why they eliminated, or one of the many reasons why they eliminated days on market for the new construction homes. You can see a lot of these that are under contract are going to close this month or into next month. I know there's a couple in here that it looks like they're behind on, so they were supposed to close at the end of July. I'm sure they'll get caught up though. But that is Falls Village, and then Ovation, the very new 55 plus community. They don't have anything listed, closed, or under contract just yet. But as far as what they have available for sale, they have 9 homes currently available for sale. And again, these are townhouses, and they're gonna be in the low to mid 400s. So if you're looking for a specific price point and you really want new construction, and you're open to a townhouse, this could be a good option for you. This community is still developing, like I said, in the very early stages. They just opened recently. They've been building Sweet Brier for a while, but they've just recently started Ovation at Sweet Brier. So hopefully that information is helpful for you. We talked a little bit about what the Brier Creek area is, what the 55 plus communities are, and what their availability is in that Brier Creek area. If you have any questions on the Triangle or 55 plus communities, don't hesitate to reach out. If you're interested in more information like this, or learning more about the area or these communities, you can check out my YouTube channel, Welcome to Raleigh. I have buyer tips, seller tips, community tours, city tours, things to do, information on the parks. It's a great resource if you're trying to learn more about the area. I look forward to talking to you again soon, and I hope you have a great day.